Our third and final speaker for this, our final session of History and Practice, Praxis, is Eugenio Israel Chávez Barreto. Israel holds a PhD in semiotics from Tartu University, and he currently works here at the Department of General Linguistics at Palacký University. He's pretty much the local expert in the semiology of Luis Prieto. He's a practicing translator of Spanish and English and a little bit of French. He's a prolific graphic designer. He's been the designer not only for this series, but for the last, 8 series that we've had. And he's been the host of Semiosalong since 2020. And I think that we can owe the success of this series almost entirely to him. And the title of his talk is Praxis and History on Some Stolen Ideas for Diachronic Semiotics. So you can take it away.
Thank you, Tyler. And it's always it's great to be introduced by friends because they always say a lot of very nice things of one. So yeah. In any case, well, let me first share my screen. Yeah. And so, okay. Wait. Just a second. So, as you know, there are always some technical difficulties, but I think now we are good because you can see my screen, right?
Okay, yeah, now you're on the first slide. Yeah.
Yeah, and now it's
now you're full screen. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So
the slides are moving though. Test the slide movement. Yeah. Okay, you're good.
Okay. Good. Okay. So just a second. All right. So, well, as Tyler already told you, the title of my presentation is Praxis and History, which is, of course, sort of a pun on the series on the name of the series. But well, I was having a bit of a hard time coming up with the presentation for today because I was not sure exactly what to talk about, and there were two options, and I decided to make a sort of a mixture between them. So first, I will start with a sort of a preamble. And the preamble, actually, it has a kind of subtitle, which is on some forms of continuity. But what is important for me here is just to tell you that this preamble is actually kind of an exercise on self-description, because some forms of continuity refer actually to the work we have been doing for the last 3 years in Semiosalong, which has consisted in 5 series, counting this one, but 4 series now. We have transmutation and other semiotic mechanisms. That was, when was it? 2020. Yeah, right. Then mythocatalysis, which it has a beautiful name. Then synecheia, and then semiotics of space, and finally the one we are currently having. But I will just tell you a little bit of. I was thinking of how to describe this sort of Ariadne's thread that can guide us into this labyrinth of Semiosalong present series throughout these years. So transmutation, this series from 2020, it came out from an idea I had that I proposed to Tyler, which was an idea of, because for me all these series are a continuity. They are this constant returning to some core ideas I've been having for the last years, and that I always want to talk about and always want to listen what other people think. So for this transmutation, the term, as you know, it is taken from Jacobson's typology of translations, and of this, especially it's a term for this intersemiotic translation. So when you have a sort of translation from one system of science to another, say when you make an adaptation of a literary work into a movie, then you have their transmutation. So the idea came, actually it came when I was doing my MA in Tartu for semiotics of translation. And as my final work for that course, I was analyzing a work of art in the streets of Tartu, which is a mural. And actually, well, I will tell you a bit more about that later. But when I was looking at this mural and I was thinking of how to do this final work for my semiotics of translation class, I went there with the person in whose wall the mural is painted, and we talked about the history of the mural, and because the mural was, in a way, it was an act of resistance, and this was showing in the mural itself because of the, say, pictorial elements. So the idea was to trace how is it that from a given narrative there might be some meaningful elements that gets translated through science systems and they finish in this wall, in this painting. So I had this idea for the Semiosalong series because it seems to me that almost all the meaningful things we produced are actually a sort of interplay between many science systems. So when we talk, but we not only talk, but we also move our hands, and the way in which we speak, maybe the intonation, maybe the way, the emphasis on some words, they also say something. And there seems to be this interplay, this things, these meaningful entities that get sort of translated in between science systems. So that was the idea of transmutation, of the transmutation series. Then for the next semester, we had this mythocatalysis, which is sort of a compound word that I was surprised to notice that nobody had used it before. Because, so of course, it combines this mythos as this discourse and catalysis as end or destruction. So the idea was to analyze myths. It was very much in the spirit of say Barthesian semiology, because as you know, Semiosalong, especially since Tyler and I are organizing it, has sort of a clear agenda of revitalizing structural semiotics, and we are all all about post-structuralism and these kind of things, and I think you can see that on the topics we choose. So mythocatalysis was dealing with this idea of sort of reverse engineering how myths and special discourses work. And of course, this is related to this idea of how meaningful entities travel around discourses and around science systems or across science systems. We had very, very nice talks for all of the sessions. Then we went on to Synecheia, which was about continuity of science systems. And so again, there is always this sort of interest in explaining how is it that there might be something that is maintained across different science systems. So even from transmutation to mythocatalysis to Synecheia, there's always this question of how is it that something travels across science systems, and well, to which extent we can say that something travels, because of course this implies this notion of identity, which, but well, we learn some very interesting things now about identity. But well, then we had a little bit of a break with semiotics of space, because that is not immediately related to this sort of frame of ideas. However, the presentations we had in semiotics of space, they were also addressing this, or at least similar problems. We had our good friend Federico Bellintani, who wrote, talked to us about monuments, and also Victoria, who was also talking about monuments, and Heidi, who was doing this very, very nice presentation on sort of conspiracy theories and how they model space sometimes. But well, then for this semester, we sort of came back to these ideas we were developing from transmutation to synecheia. And well, we had this history and praxis. And well, I think I don't need to say much about this series, because, well, you have seen these wonderful presentations we had today also that are just right to the point of what we wanted to have for this series. And well, next semester, actually, because we have become kind of very effective and productive and so on, for next semester, we already have a series planned. And the series for next semester, it will continue on this topic of history, but it will be on just history of linguistics and history of semiotics. And we have a title, which might change, but I don't know, because I really like, as you can see from previous series, I really like these cryptic titles that, yeah, so the proposed title is, of course, in Latin, and this I will not attempt to pronounce it, because I'm not sure how you should pronounce this V. I think maybe like woo something. But well, this is taken from a satire of Horacio. And well, of course, the translation is where do you come from and where are you going? And I think it is quite a fitting title for a series on the history of linguistics, especially because it will be focused, of course, in structural linguistics. So we will have some presentations by experts on the field of structural linguistics and structural semiotics. Yeah, we will be hearing some presentations about Saussure, probably, and about Russian linguistics, Russian formalism, and these kind of things. Yeah, and of course, probably also a little bit about linguistics and biosemiotics and psychoanalysis and how they might be related. So it will be great. But well, the thing is that besides this sort of exercise on self-description, I wanted to tell you about some other ideas that are more academic in a way, more technical, but they are related to this sort of to this need of self-describing oneself, and they are also related to this thread that I was telling you about, that this sort of theoretical concern we have with, or at least I have, but hopefully or luckily Tyler has it too, because he has always agreed to do the series on the topics I have been proposing, which is this: how is it that something meaningful might travel across science systems? And I will try to be briefly, because it seems that a little bit over time, but just bear with me for some minutes. So it will be what follows. It will have three parts. So the first part will be just some commentaries on speech. So one of these problems I was having was how to talk. So, yesterday, when I was trying to write my presentation, or maybe it was the day before, I wrote to Marina that I was when I didn't know when or how to begin, I was always reminded of this opening phrases of Foucault's order of discourse. You know, his lecture in the college in France. You know, this inaugural lecture, and because yeah, it seems to me that it would be indeed so nice not to have to begin to speaking, but just to be carried away in this sort of flow of discourse. So this problem, because in a way, this problem or well, this question of the continuity of the Semiosalong series and of how to talk about this continuity of Semiosalong series it places me in this moment in which I have to sort of take the word, but it is a word that it's already sort of floating around. So I'm a bit lucky, but maybe not so lucky. So the question, as you see, I am a bit troubled by this situation, and I was thinking, well, maybe the right question to ask would be what is at stake in a language system, but maybe more than that, what is mobilized by speech? When we talk, what is it that moves, if anything moves? So I believe that in a way, when we speak, we sort of try to organize something. As you know, well, I am reminding you that this presentation is called or it involves stolen ideas, and I have indeed still stolen many things from many people. So, and now Lotman. So there is this passage of Lotman, I think maybe it's in Universe of the Mind, that he says that when we speak about an event, we increase its degree of organization. So indeed, by speaking, it seems that sometimes we kind of order something that needs to be ordered, or that we believe it has to be ordered. Which, yeah, maybe that's a question. But now, so what is it that gets ordered? So is it an event? Is it experience? I really liked this idea Julia had on her slides about grammar is a theory of human experience. And I mean, well, the idea that in speaking we organize experience, it's not my idea. It's also a stolen idea from Martinet. Martinet, he also talks about this ordering of experience and of monemes as corresponding to fragments of experience. And precisely from this ordering of experience and from this sort of structure, yeah, from this process of giving structure to experience comes this first articulation eventually, this first articulation of language. So it seems to me that when we speak, we try to make this to order something, and to the extent that we aim to order something. Oh, Yes. I wanted to show you. I was decided that today would be one of the weirdest presentations I had ever had or gave. And because, you know, it's the Semiosalong, it should be a very chill, relaxed space for us to just discuss some ideas. And also, well, Semiosalong was originally started by PhD students in Tartu who had strong influence, or they were strongly interested in art. So I thought that instead of giving you some diagrams, like very, you know, something that could be printed in an article, I would try to put my ideas into a sort of artistic way. So I came up with this drawing. And as you see, so this what gets ordered by language. Like I have a sort of under or in between the lines, I have been saying that what gets ordered is experience. But then what is interesting about language, it seems to me, is not only that it orders previous experience in order to express it, but that it also, it seems like sometimes it orders experience as it is happening. So at the same time that it enables us to reflect on what had happened and order this that had happened, it also sort of shapes our understanding of what is going on. So as if it would be, you know, going through us. That's why these red lines, that they look a bit like blood or like guts or something, and they are covering all around this drawing. So you can see that there is this sort of segmentation here at the upper part, and you can see how there are these sort of correspondences between certain portions of this whatever that is being experienced, all these red doodles, not doodles, but garabatos. Yeah. Well, and I just chose these Greek letters because these are stolen ideas, and if you have read Saussure's course, you know that there is this alphabet and so on. So so it's similar. Yeah. Well, but in any case, what I was going to was that this necessity, because it seems that it is a sort of necessity to order and to categorize and to put things into this. Yeah, it seems like we tend to make sense of things by ordering them. However, well, okay, because then this problem of order becomes a problem, and that's why this second part is on institutionalization. As well, this would seem as if language at the end would be a sort of fixed system, but I think, and this is another stolen idea, that language might be better conceived as a functioning. And this is a stolen idea because it is, I borrow it, or I steal it from Angael Tuten, who she has been doing a lot of work on Saussure and Saussure's reception, and she has her own reading of Saussure, and she thinks that the best way to understand langue is as a function. Yeah. So yes, and of course we know that from Saussure it is very important to consider language as a social institution, and we know that at the same time this has prompted some strong criticism against structuralism, yeah, and against Saussurean semiotics, let's say, also because it is often seen as this ahistorical thing, which I believe is, well, okay, maybe it's a valid reading, but it seems to me that it's not the most productive one. Because meaning, and another stolen idea here from my dear professor friend Kaleviku, meaning is, in a way, meaning is indeterminate. Yeah, if it is not determined, then it is, I mean, if it is determined, then it's not meaning. So meaning should be determined. However, language often sort of, it seems like it gives us fixed meanings. And it seems that when we utter something and when we try to communicate with people, what we want is to have sort of something stable and something that is fixed, because we want to be understood, ideally. Because, well, maybe sometimes we don't want to be understood, but maybe even in those cases we rely on this sort of fixation of meaning being something fixed. Yeah, but, well, this we know also that, well, to talk about meaning as something fixed might be too ideal, and indeed, I think that, for instance, to 10 or readings of Saussure that focus more on this sort of historical aspect that is inherently present in Saussure's theories. Well, the nice thing about them is that they immediately face this question of how to give an account of a given, let's say, a sign system, a structure of signs, that it has to be fixed to the extent that it enables communication, but it has to be not so fixed to the extent that it allows for variation, to the extent that it allows for also for expressing other things, because we use language not only to communicate, but also, you know, if I am sad, I will probably use different words and that I would use when I am happy. And okay, maybe these are extra linguistic things, but language is there somehow, and it also has these other functions. So it should be fixed to the extent that some meaning has to be more or less stable, but it also has to have this dynamicity, and it has this dynamicity. So because also it's not something that I would like it to have, but it's also something that it does have. So I believe. But in any case, if there are these fluctuations in meaning, so if on the one hand it is fixed, but then maybe sometimes we want to express new things in language, which can happen, which happens, which is, well, which has been the topic of now Marina's presentation, of Miriama's presentation, in a way of Julia's presentation. It seems that we are more and more facing or coming closer to this problem that, well, first is what is mobilized by speech, because if meaning fluctuates, and if it fluctuates because of some needs that we have of expressing things, then what is it that we really do when we speak? So I propose, based on another stolen idea, which is this enchainment of sign systems that is proposed by Luis Prieto. I propose, well, to develop his idea in some way, and to see culture, language, speech, and subjectivity as somehow linked. And we are now coming back to this idea of having meaningful entities traveling across different sign systems. So now there's a problem with the order, because I'm not sure if we should have this cultural language speech subject, or rather subject, language, speech, culture. And maybe we should take both into account. However, what it is extremely important to acknowledge now is that language doesn't work in isolation. So all these other functions that language has, that we call them extra-linguistic, sometimes, well, they make they are extra-linguistic to the extent that they partake of other sign systems in culture. So my idea is something like this. And you remember from the previous slide, we had this Lang and Parole, and Lang as this institution, this purple block. But then, of course, in culture, there are many institutions, and you can think of these purple blocks as other institutionalized sign systems, which transfer some information to other ones, and eventually they might make it into language. I told you that I was sure that this was going to be the weirdest presentation I've ever gave. So again, this question that it's there. So, okay, so if we have something like this, then what is it that gets mobilized by speech? Or to put it in another in other terms, what is really expressed by language? What is it that language really expresses? So we go now to part 3, which is on subversion. And this is the question, right? So I believe that probably what language tries to express is what cannot be expressed. So it seems to me that speech is only this sort of attempt of expressing something that cannot be expressed, which is experience in itself, like our own subjectivity. And because I feel already so artsy and pretentious, I thought I had to have a quote in French. So that I will briefly translate. So this is a small passage from a book, very nice book by Eric Buissons, who the book was sadly overlooked because it was published for the first time in 1943, and well, because of the war, it didn't receive that much attention. But later in 1967, I think it was a new edition came out, and then Muna and everybody, Prieto, of course, was extremely interested in the book. Martinet, yeah, because it is one of the first attempts of building up semiology. And the book is divided into 2 parts. A first part that deals only with semiology, and second part that deals only with linguistics. And from the first part, I took this quotation, which every time I asked myself, so okay, my research question is this: what is it that gets expressed by language? And then I was always coming back to this. As if Buissons were speaking to me, telling me this. To communicate, we associate 2 abstractions. Meaning or signification is by definition abstract. Concrete, or what is concrete, is uncommunicable, or like it cannot be communicated. The self, or the I, is ineffable, and yeah, I believe that this is a good. It might be a good frame. So, because if you think about it, I think that by assuming that what gets expressed by language is, or what we try to express when we speak, is what we cannot express, then to speak would become this sort of incessant approximation towards something. And maybe precisely this fact that when we speak, we never get to say what we really want to say. Maybe this is precisely why speech is this sort of bearer of change. Because there is always something that comes from outside language that becomes meaningful and that looks for ways to get expressed in language. So finally, I thought that to sum up the presentation, I could give you this drawing, which it aims to portray this sort of tension, this sort of dialogical tension between what is fixed, as you see this purple block, and what is inevitable, what inevitably varies, and how this might influence one another. And well, of course, there is somewhere there also this idea that that there is something that cannot be expressed, and that this is what moves a language. So sort of, it seems to me that that if we speak is not really because maybe it's not really because we see the world in the same ways, and thus if I see that there is danger, I can tell my friend, there's danger there, and okay, it seems to me that it's not only this. It seems to me that it is because we might think of danger as two different things, and we might not get to understand what is danger. It seems to me that this is the reason why we need to speak. Okay, so as for conclusion, I give you the next slide, and thank you.
Incredible. We got a question from Anna already.
Yes, please.
Take it away, Anna.
Okay, Israel, great presentation. It's nice to see you again. And I have this comment actually. I don't know if you've read the book 1984.
Yeah.
And you know of their language newspeak, what's the purpose of that language? Because according to Syme, every year, every new edition of that dictionary, it has less and less words in order to decrease that language, in order to prevent people from thinking. So what is your opinion on that? How is language there connected actually to their power and thinking? What is your remarks, since you're the language and linguistics expert on that one, and newspeak language in 1984?
Thank you. Well, I'm by no means expert on Orwell or on but the question is thank you for the question, because it's important, I think, especially in sort of the current climate, because it seems there are now movements in different places that are making very clear political statements by changing the way they speak. And sometimes opposite groups refer to these people saying well, but they are trapped in this sort of magical thinking that only if you name something it exists, and these kind of things. And well, I cannot be more sympathetic of expressing and putting into words a clear political position, especially if it is one that aims to go against certain ideologies, or that just aims to make it clear that given knowledge is ideological. So I think that the way we talk about things is indeed important. I don't think this can be regulated at all. I mean, even if there would be a conscious effort to do it, I don't think it would work because you know, we just speak and we have the need to say things, and we will say them. Yeah, we are going to say the things we need to say, even if we can't say it and so on. But well, that's the beauty of it. And yeah.
Thank you so much. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Questions in the room? When you pose these questions on your slides, what is mobilized by language, or what's at stake in speech, they kind of, without much context, they may seem a bit banal, right? Because someone may just quickly answer, well, meaning, or as you put it, experience, or memory. But the problematic you're reaching for is far deeper than that, right? Someone may even just as quickly answer semiosis, right? But the problem with answers like meaning or experience or memory is someone else might quickly respond, aren't these just products of language? Isn't that just part of language? Or isn't it the fact that there is no experience or no memory without language? So it's just part of that. So it doesn't really answer the question, or the answer is somewhat circular, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah, that's the, well, I didn't talk a lot about that because I didn't want to take so much time, but
it's related to the other dilemma about the diachronic, the passage of time, and what is preserved between the translation between sign systems. In the
yes,
sense, Saussure was very sensitive to this problem of the reification, or the problem of trying to include the temporal or the external within the system of description. Because the moment that we give a word to this other than language, it is already language, yes? And so there's a kind of performative contradiction that all of the linguistic turn philosophers were very sensitive to. And he was trying to instantiate some kind of method for getting around this problem. And I mean, in many circles, this is just what semiotics consists of. It's just this synchronic and even formalistic kind of approach, which seeks to evade the error of reification. And yet, in semiotics, we see this very error being committed somewhat widely, I guess, under the banner of the Charles Peircean, which is not to attribute this error to Peirce, but rather only to those who use Peirce and talk about the object, right, or talk about semiosis as though it were something which could be easily designated or labeled without losing it fundamentally, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I get where you are going, and it's very cool because some of the ideas I've been having have actually come from reading your dissertation, and and because I am working on an article that sort of begins with some of one reading of your concept of retroaction, and because yeah, it seems to me that what I would like to do sometimes, it seems to me that it is to include within language, or within a definition of language, the conditions of its possibilities. So like what is needed for there to be language, and as if this would be also part of a linguistic system. And yeah, I think the reading you propose of Barth kind of goes in that way, but this is my reading. So at the end, it would be okay if you disagree, because it's another stolen idea. Because yes, this also what I'm saying is very much in line of what you are saying, because indeed, I think that this idea that there's something that you want to express, and by the moment you name it, you immediately leave something out. And I was thinking about this, and I was especially reminded about this yesterday, that we were with a friend who is working with the ICSIS, because I was thinking that, well, you know, Wissant said it, the I is ineffable. So, and also from Peirce, we know that symbols are generals. So how is it, you know, how could we talk about one single thing? So how could we use a sign in any other way than it's not to talk about something that is general in some sense? Of course, we have proper names, we have shifters, or well, we have bases and all this, but isn't it so that the very cost of semiosis itself is that there's something forever lost? But I don't know, because you know, I'm feeling like I'm in a very mystical, poetical, philosophical mood. And yeah,
We can all see that. And we've run well over time tonight, and it's clearly just a conversation between the two of us as usual. So maybe if there aren't any further comments in the room or questions from our online audience, and I know that you have some final words also regarding the upcoming series. And
yeah, well, actually, yeah, I was just going to tell you that well, that thanks to all of you for coming. I'm sorry we chose a not very good day, because yeah, in Tartu they are having their Umwelt, and yeah, well, but thanks again for coming. And yeah, next semester we will start on, I think it's on the 26th of October we will begin. And oh yeah, and I want to thank Ludmila for her messages in the chat. And yeah, thank you. Yes, and so next semester, 26th October, we will begin our series. And we also have a surprise, kind of, because we are going to publish soon a book on the last 8 years of Semiosalong. So yeah, we will have many abstracts and posters and some images there. And yeah, we hope you will like it. And yes, I don't know if I'm missing something.
Let's all give Israel a round of applause again, not just for his presentation today, but for his prodigious work for the Semiosalong.
No, and Tyler. I mean, Tyler and Ludmila, I always have said that a great thing about Semiosalong is that you get to work around your friends, and yeah, it's good. And we cannot do it without them. So yeah, Marina, Tyler, everybody. Yeah, thank you. Yes. Okay. And then yeah, we'll see you next semester then.